as I said earlier, there's probably no place to run from Common Core. It's a globalist effort. It's going to create little mind-numbed robots who are going to worship the Antichrist someday because it's a globalist effort, and we've got Sustainable Development, United Nations. We've already referenced UNESCO, and Eric, I know you wanted to weigh in and make an observation you have.
Well, we ended that first segment just barely mentioning Christian schools or Christians who are in public school situations. To the Christian schools, and I realize that because of the testing that's attached to this, and the testing really is the whole deal. Whether a city, a county, a state test scores are up doesn't mean anything if the students got there through a curriculum that only is looking for an outcome, not looking for excellent students. But when Christians employ this stuff, we go directly against the mandate of Scripture, which is absolute truth. Why should we pay out of our pockets for a system that is destroying the public schools in America, and then we get this false security that because our kids are in Christian school, it must be okay? If my grandkids in the school they're in Tacoma, Washington, if I find that school is employing this stuff without anybody protesting or saying a word, I'll be the first one down there to be loud and to be clear about it and warn the other parents of what's happening, because most parents really don't know. So we just need to get involved as a thing. I believe we need to turn this around and do it immediately, and this is just another reason why I believe the next election is a make it or break it for America on many levels.
David Ferrazzo, why don't you weigh into this, particularly the Christian school and homeschool angle?
Well, first, I absolutely agree with Eric. There's not a lot we can do other than pray and get involved. It's already being implemented. However, elections have consequences, and that is very, very important to elect Christians and conservatives that will be able to repeal some of this if and when possible. But as far as homeschools, Christian, Catholic schools, the government doesn't care about low or subpar standards. That's irrelevant. They want to have kids implemented with this Common Core and learn this so that they will do well on the tests, so that the testing, the system itself will look good, because, like Eric said, kids score high on the test. And the Homeschool Legal Defense Association has been sounding the alarm on this for years, and there are all kinds of mandates being applied to schools that do not receive federal funds. But Common Core could eventually impact, obviously, the homeschool, private school students by affecting college admission standards. The SAT will be aligned if it's not already being implemented with the Common Core standards. Questions have been added to the ACT. The GED has been redesigned first time since 2002, I believe, to incorporate practices and skills from Common Core standards for math at least. And then, kids that are taking the redesigned test could soon encounter what we've been talking about: progressive ideologies, social engineering, alternative lifestyles, tolerance of Islam and diversity, sustainable development, worshiping the earth, and it's all man's fault that we're causing all the problems in the earth. So bottom line, if you want to change society and worldviews, you start with education and the tests. And it's been said by many that the people who control the standards and control assessments, they control education. If I could take just one more minute,
please,
and show this contrast of worldviews. Flashback to the early 1800s, late 1700s, early 1800s, one of the signers of the Declaration of Independence, Benjamin Rush, said, "The great enemy of the salvation of man, in my opinion, never invented a more effectual means of extinguishing Christianity from the world than by persuading mankind it was improper to read the Bible at schools." Now, John Dewey, of course, known as the father of American education, progressive education, he went on record to say you can't make socialists out of individualists. And, of course, Dewey was able to influence public school curricula back in the 30s and 40s of grants from the Carnegie and Rockefeller foundations. And, he implemented, John Dewey, a socialist and atheist, implemented teacher training programs. This is not a new thing. They've been out to eradicate Christianity for years. One of the other quotes that I remember from Dewey, he said, "There is no God and there is no soul. Hence, there is no need for the props of traditional religion." Once we understand this is the bottom line of all this, we will see it's a worldview war. It's a battle over God or man. So you can sum up the battle. It's spiritual, but it's being played out in the natural, in the physical realm now, God or man. And as in Galatians 1:10 says, are we still trying to please man, or are we trying to please God? If we were still trying to please men, we would not be servants of Jesus Christ.
Right. But here again, there's only so much the average listener can do. Let's just say they're an average homeschooling family that's listening, average private school family that's listening. We talked off air a little bit about just going down to a school board and making a lot of noise. Is that really going to help?
I think it'll help to some degree, but you're right. I'm trying to paint a positive spin on this outlook. There is not much. This is the way that the country's going.
Yes,
the way
exactly.
even the church is going, and we've talked about that quite often, that this kind of thinking, this conforming to the world that's been infiltrating the church. But as far as the schools go, when are we going to recognize, or most of us do, and I say most within this conversation, and I believe most of your listeners being pretty well informed, listening to your show and others, but there's a lot of people that just don't get it, that this is a spiritual battle. It's a fight against the person, the truth, the deity of Jesus Christ. And we've got a secular government in America. I know we want to have the romantic ideas that we're still a Christian nation. That has been long gone. Now we've got to decide now, discern the times and do what we can do now. Now, it's still important to speak, to raise awareness of these issues. And again, voting, I think, like Eric pointed out, is very, very important. But, boy, beyond that, let's just educate and inform people. And I do want to, again, mention the website, fpeusa.org, because Duke Pesta is an expert. For those of you concerned about education at any level, check that out, because there's abundant resources on Freedom Project Education's website.
Yep, and that's what that stands for. FPEUSA stands for Freedom Project Education. That's www.fpeusa.org. You can learn more about Dr. Duke Pesta. We played a soundbite from him earlier. Eric, did you want to cite a personal example here?
This morning, knowing we were going to talk about this, I called a Christian who I've known for many years, who for the first time is teaching a full load at a public school in Washington State. He's been a substitute teacher for several years now and has not faced Common Core. He taught in the past, but hasn't done it for quite some time. That's the best way to put that. I asked him, what's the single most damaging element of Common Core? And he was silent. And he said, wow, I don't know where to start. And this is a teacher. He'd been into PE, been a coach, that kind of thing. And he's faced with this for the first time, being told in a teacher's meeting that they're not looking for students to excel. He said he was told in a teacher's meeting with the principal of the school, problem solving is more important than a student finding the right answer. To give you an idea, folks, in Common Core, in this particular school in Washington, there are 3 grades a student can get in any particular project, test, etc. 0 to 60 gets a 1, 61 to 73% gets a 2, 74 to 100% gets a 3. This isn't about preparing your children to excel and to go forward, or helping those who maybe have the ability but aren't yet tapping into it to excel and become what they can be. This is about making good little global students that all think exactly the same way.